Let me ask you a question. How many times in your life have you held a dream so close, but it always felt just a little out of reach? You told yourself one day, someday, maybe if everything lines up. And yet, deep down, voice inside whispers that maybe it'll never happen. What if I told you the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't about luck, talent, or even resources, it's about belief. Not the kind of belief where you hope things might work out, but the kind of belief where you decide in your bones that it's already done, that it's yours, that nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop it. Because here's the truth, your brain, your body, your spirit, they don't wait for results to show up before they respond. They respond to the signals you feed them now. When you act as if your dream is already reality, your energy shifts. You speak differently. You move differently. People feel it. Opportunities open. And what once looked impossible starts falling into place like it was meant to be all along. So today, I'm going to challenge you to stop living in the waiting room of your life. Stop standing in line for a future that never arrives. You're going to learn how to step into the power of already done. By the time we're finished, you won't just be inspired. You'll have a blueprint to live, breathe, create success like it's inevitable. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could be the exact shift that turns your someday into today. Most people go through life hoping. They hope their finances will improve. They hope their health gets better. They hope their relationships somehow fix themselves. They hope success lands in their lap. And the problem with hope is this: hope keeps you in a place of waiting. Hope says, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. Hope feels good for a moment, but it doesn't create certainty. And certainty is the foundation of achievement. The truth is, you will never consistently do what you don't completely believe. If you're hoping to succeed, but deep down you don't believe it's inevitable, you'll sabotage yourself every time. You'll hesitate. You'll second guess. You'll talk yourself out of taking the next step. You'll say, I'll do it tomorrow. Things are easier. And that tomorrow never comes. But when you shift from wishing to absolute certainty, everything changes. Your mind, your body, your choices, every part of you begins to align with that belief. Think about it. If you woke up tomorrow morning with total conviction that your success was guaranteed, how would you live? How would you walk into a room? How would you speak? What actions would you take that you've been avoiding? You wouldn't wait anymore. You wouldn't hold back. You wouldn't shrink yourself to fit in. You would rise, because certainty frees you. Certainty eliminates hesitation. Certainty destroys doubt. And certainty makes you unstoppable. And I know some of you are thinking, I don't see the evidence yet. How can I be certain of something that hasn't happened? That's the trap most people fall into. They live their lives waiting for evidence before they believe. They say, when I have more money, then I'll feel abundant. When I lose the weight, then I'll feel confident. When I succeed, then I'll believe I'm successful. But that's backward. That's not how the mind works. The mind doesn't wait for proof. The mind creates proof. Belief comes first. The evidence comes after. Let me give you an example. Think about the people you admire who've achieved extraordinary things. Do you think they waited until everything was certain before they took action? Of course not. They acted with certainty before anyone else could see it. They carried themselves as if it was already done, and that belief shaped their destiny. When you shift into certainty, you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, if I succeed bigger than I imagine. You stop looking for reasons why it might not work, and you start focusing only on the reasons why it must work. That shift in focus, that shift in identity, pulls you out of the waiting room and into the driver's seat of your life. And let me tell you something powerful. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something experienced. If you close your eyes right now and picture yourself standing on a stage, confident, powerful, speaking life into a crowd, your body will respond as if it's real. If you visualize walking into that office, closing that deal, shaking hands with certainty, your body will start to anchor that reality. That's not fantasy. That's training your brain to accept certainty as your new standard. Wishing keeps you passive. Certainty makes you active. Wishing is waiting. Certainty is deciding. Decisions create destiny. Every breakthrough in your life will start with a moment of decision, a moment where you said, enough, no more waiting. This is happening. It's already mine. That level of decision doesn't come from hope. It comes from absolute belief. Now, I'm not telling you to lie to yourself or pretend everything is perfect. This isn't about denial. This is about choosing the state of mind that empowers you to create the life you want. Because if you let the outside world determine your certainty, you'll always be reacting. You'll be a slave to circumstances. But when you choose certainty first, you become the creator. You set the tone. You shape the circumstances instead of letting them shape you. Think of it like this. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't sit there every day saying, I hope this grows. I really hope it grows. No. You know, if you water it, give it sunlight, nurture it, it's going to grow. You don't question it. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's working. You trust the process. You live with certainty that growth is inevitable. That's the mindset you need to apply to your goals. Plant the seed, commit to the process. Live in the certainty that it's already growing even before you see the results. And here's what happens when you do that. You start attracting opportunities that match your belief. People are drawn to certainty. They can feel it. When you speak with conviction, when you walk with unshakable belief, when you radiate the energy of someone who has already won, People want to align with you, doors open, calls get returned, resources show up. Not because the world magically shifted, but because you shifted. So stop waiting for proof. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. The only thing you're missing is the certainty that it's already yours. Because once you decide it's done, you'll act differently, you'll attract differently, you'll live differently. That difference is what turns a dream into reality. So here's my challenge to you right now. In this moment, pick one area of your life you've been wishing would change. Stop wishing. Decide it's already done. Feel it in your body. See it in your mind. Speak it like it's truth. Live today as if the results are guaranteed. Because the second you shift from wishing to certainty, you step into a new reality. That's the moment everything begins to change. You've got to understand something fundamental about success. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. Most people think, if I want something badly enough, it will come to me. But life doesn't respond to wants. Life responds to identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, who always falls short, who never catches a break, you will unconsciously create situations that match that identity. When you see yourself as someone who wins, someone who finds a way, someone who is relentless, life starts mirroring that belief back to you. Let's be real. Every single one of us has an identity we live out daily. We're conscious of it or not. And that identity determines what you do, how you think, how you feel, and ultimately what you get. Some people say, I want to be wealthy. But inside, their identity is still tied to scarcity, to lack, to the belief that money is hard, that there's never enough. And so even when opportunities come, they sabotage them or they don't even recognize them. Others say, I want to be fit and healthy. But their identity is wrapped up in being the person who always gives up, the one who says, I'm just not disciplined, I can't stick to anything. And because that's their identity, their behaviors follow. They start strong, but their old identity pulls them back down. You see, outcomes are always a reflection of identity. You can chase outcomes all day long, but if your identity doesn't shift, nothing will stick. That's why some people hit a financial breakthrough, but a year later they're back where they started, or they lose weight, but they gain it back. The outcome changed temporarily, but the identity didn't, and the identity always wins. So how do you shift this? How do you stop being someone who's chasing results and instead become someone who lives them naturally? You begin by stepping into the identity of the person who already has what you desire. You stop thinking, how do I get there? And you start asking, who do I need to become to live there permanently? That's the real question. Think of it like this. Let's say you want to build a multi-million-dollar business. If your identity is still tied to being an employee who plays it safe, who waits to be told what to do, you'll never operate at the level that business requires. You can read all the business books you want. You can go to seminars. You can study strategies. If you don't shift into the identity of a leader, a visionary, someone who makes bold decisions, it won't matter. You'll always default back to who you believe you are. Here's what's powerful. You don't need to wait years to shift identity. Identity is created in a moment. It's created when you decide, this is who I am now. I'm no longer the person who hopes for change. I am the person who creates change. You lock that in not just by saying it, but by living it, by acting as if, by embodying it with every word, every choice, every action. That's when your identity begins to rewire itself. Your brain is always looking for congruence. If you declare, I'm a leader, and then you show up timid and hesitant, your brain feels the mismatch. But when you declare, I'm a leader, and you speak with confidence, you take bold action, you push through resistance. Your brain starts to say, this is who we are now. And once identity locks in, your behaviors follow automatically. Think about it. How hard is it to get someone to act against their identity? If someone identifies as a healthy person, you don't have to force them to eat better or exercise. It's automatic. That's who they are. If someone identifies as a high achiever, you don't have to beg them to work hard. It's what they do. Work, the discipline, the sacrifice. It's not painful because it's aligned with their identity. That's the power of identity. It makes the hard things natural. So if you want to attract success, stop obsessing over the outcome and start crafting the identity. Stop saying, I want to be successful, and start saying, I am the kind of person who creates success everywhere I go. Stop saying, I hope I can be confident one day, and start saying, I am confidence. I radiate it, I own it. Stop saying, I wish I could break through, and start saying, I am the kind of person who always finds a way. And yes, first it feels uncomfortable. At first your brain will scream, that's not true, that's not who you are. But that's because your brain is addicted to your old identity. It wants you to stay familiar, stay predictable. Safe doesn't change your life. Familiar doesn't create breakthroughs. Predictable doesn't rewrite your future. Only a new identity does. Here's the secret. You've already shifted identity multiple times in your life without realizing it. Think about when you were a kid and you couldn't ride a bike. Back then your identity was, I don't know how, I can't do it. But the moment you learned, everything changed. You never said again, I'm someone who can't ride a bike. No, you became a bike rider. It's who you are now. You don't even think about it. That's identity. Same thing when you learn to read or drive a car or do anything you once couldn't do. The identity shifted, and with it, your reality shifted forever. That's how success works. Once you shift into the identity of someone who creates wealth, someone who attracts opportunities, someone who commands confidence, someone who never quits, stops being something you're trying to do and becomes something you simply are. And when you live from that place, outcomes are inevitable. But here's the warning. You can't fake identity. You can't just say it once and go back to living the old way. You have to commit to embodying it every single day until it sticks. Identity is built through repetition, through consistency, through proving to yourself again and again, this is who I am. And the more you prove it, the more unshakable it becomes. So let me ask you, what identity have you been holding on to that's been keeping you small? What labels have you accepted that no longer serve you? Shy. I'm not good with money. I'm disciplined. I'm just average. Those are prisons, and the door to that prison isn't locked. You can walk out anytime you decide to. But you've got to decide. You've got to say, that old identity is dead. This is who I am now. And don't just say it, live it, breathe it, own it. Because once you shift your identity, the outcomes will follow automatically. You won't have to chase success. Success will chase you. So the real question is this: who are you deciding to be starting right now? Let me tell you something that most people never realize. Your emotions are not just reactions to life. They're the architects of your life. The state you live in every day is shaping the choices you make, the actions you take, the way people respond to you, and ultimately the results you get. Most people think they'll feel confident once they succeed. They'll feel happy once they find love. They'll feel grateful once they have abundance. But that's backwards. Success doesn't create the emotion. The emotion creates the success. Your brain and your nervous system are wired in a way that they don't need reality to give them permission to feel. You can choose to feel confidence before you've achieved anything. You can choose to feel abundance before you see the money in your bank account. You can choose to feel gratitude before the result shows up. And when you do, your body, your mind, your actions all align with that state. And that's what accelerates your success. Think about it. When someone walks into a room radiating joy and certainty, you feel it, don't you? You're drawn to them. You want to be around them. Opportunities open lucky, but because their emotional state is magnetic. Now flip it. Someone else walks in carrying stress, doubt, and insecurity. You feel that too, don't you? You instinctively move away. Life is the same way. The emotional state you live in every day is either pulling opportunities toward you or pushing them away. So let's make this practical. Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and you say to yourself, I'm going to live in the emotional state of gratitude as if my dream has already happened. You close your eyes, you breathe deeply, and you see yourself already living in that house, already running that business, already walking in that body you desire. You feel it fully, not just in your head, but in your body. You let gratitude flood you. What happens? Your brain starts to wire that as truth. Your nervous system begins to accept that state as real. Then when you walk into your day, you're not waiting for success. You're carrying success with you. That changes the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to challenges. That emotional conditioning begins to bend reality toward the vision you hold. Most people never do this. Most people let life dictate how they feel. They wake up, check their phone, see the news, see a bill, see a problem. They let that control their emotional state. And because they live in stress, frustration, or fear, they create more of it. They condition themselves into states that sabotage them. They train their brains to expect disappointment. Disappointment shows up. They live in anger, so conflict follows them everywhere. They rehearse fear so much that they end up proving themselves right. But what if you reversed it? If you conditioned yourself every day to feel the emotions of your dream before you see it? What if you practiced joy before there was a reason? What if you trained yourself to feel unstoppable before the breakthrough arrived? You would no longer be at the mercy of circumstances. You would be the creator of them. This is not positive thinking. This is science. The brain doesn't distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's real. Olympic athletes use this principle. They rehearse in their minds. They see themselves winning. They feel the emotions of victory. And when the moment comes, their body executes with certainty because it's already lived the experience 1,000 times. That's emotional conditioning. That's creating reality with your state. Now let me ask you, what emotions are you rehearsing every day without even knowing it? Because repetition is the mother identity. If you wake up stressed every morning, if you focus on problems all day long, if you go to bed worrying, you're training your nervous system to make stress your default. And if stress is your default, you'll sabotage the very success you're trying to attract. On the other hand, if you make gratitude your default, if you rehearse certainty, if you live in joy, your brain wires that in and opportunities start to match that state. So how do you do this? You decide every single day that your emotions are yours to command. You don't wait for a reason. You create the reason. You use your focus, your physiology, your breath, your language, your imagination to flood your nervous system with the state you want. You condition yourself to feel what success feels like before the world gives you evidence. When you do, the world catches up. Imagine living every day with the emotional certainty of someone who has already won. Imagine making decisions from the place of, it's already mine, instead of, I hope this works out. Imagine walking into every room with the emotional energy of gratitude, confidence, and power. You would change the way people see you. You would change the way you see yourself. You would attract people and opportunities aligned with that state because life is always reflecting the energy you project. This is the secret to collapsing time. Most people take years to create results because they're dragging their old emotions with them. Fear, doubt, hesitation. When you shift the emotional state first, time bends. Things start to happen faster because you're not fighting yourself anymore. In alignment. You're sending one clear signal to the world. This is who I am. This is where I'm going. It's already done. But here's the challenge. You've got to practice this daily. You can't just feel good for a moment and then go back to your old patterns. This is emotional conditioning. It's like working out. If you go to the gym once, nothing changes. But if you go every day, your body transforms. The same is true with your emotions. Condition yourself every morning. Start your day flooding your body with gratitude, joy, certainty, love. Don't wait for something to happen to feel it. Decide to feel it and make it your foundation. Because if you don't choose your emotions, the world will choose them for you. And the world doesn't care about your dreams. The world will hand you fear. It will hand you doubt. It will hand you distraction. You've got to take control. You've got to say no. I decide how I feel. I decide the state I live in. And I choose to live as if my dream is already reality. That's how you take your power back. That's how you become unstoppable. So ask yourself right now, emotions do you need to condition daily to become the person who attracts the life you've been dreaming of? Because once you start living in those emotions before the evidence shows up, the evidence will have no choice but to show up. There's a truth I want you to hear at the deepest level. Acting as if is not pretending. It's not faking it. It's not about putting on some mask and hoping no one notices the difference. Acting as if means aligning your actions with the belief that your vision is already real, already done, already yours. It's living today in the behaviors, decisions, and habits that match the life you say you want even before it shows up. Because if your actions don't align with your belief will collapse. But when your actions and your belief move together, you become unstoppable. Think about how most people live. They say, I want to be successful. But their actions scream the opposite. They sleep in, they procrastinate, they avoid the uncomfortable conversations, they put things off until tomorrow. They say, I want financial freedom, but they spend recklessly. They never invest, they avoid learning. They say, I want an extraordinary relationship, but they don't give their partner the time, presence, or love that would actually create that. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The gap is simply their actions don't match their belief. Now imagine this. What if every single day you acted as though your dream was already true? If you believed without a shadow of a doubt that you were destined for abundance, you hesitate before making the investment in yourself. Would you drag your feet when it's time to put in the work? Would you question your worth before speaking up? Now you'd step boldly because the action would flow naturally from the belief. Here's the powerful thing. The second you align your behavior with your vision, the world starts to bend toward you. You stop sending mixed signals. You stop saying one thing and doing another. You send a consistent, undeniable message. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is where I'm going. And life responds to that level of clarity. Let's make it real. If your dream is to be fit and strong, acting as if doesn't mean posting motivational quotes and hoping one day you'll find discipline. Acting as if means you wake up and you train like the athlete you already believe yourself to be. You eat the way that version of you eats. You carry yourself with the energy that version of you radiates. Not one day, but today. Because when you live like it's already real, your body, your mind, and your results catch up. If your dream is financial abundance, acting as if doesn't mean buying things you can't afford to impress people you don't even like. That's pretending. Acting as if means you manage your money with wisdom now. You invest in growth now. You carry yourself with the confidence of someone who already knows how to multiply resources, not someone who's waiting for a miracle. You treat opportunities like they're gold because you know abundance is part of who you are, not something you're chasing. If your dream is building an extraordinary relationship, acting as if doesn't mean waiting until the right person magically arrives to finally be loving, present, and grateful. It means being that version of you now. It means showing up today with the patience, kindness, passion, and presence that your future relationship requires. You don't wait for love, you embody love. And when you do, the right people are drawn to you because your actions reflect the energy of someone who already has what others are searching for. Do you see how powerful this is? Most people want the outcome without living the actions. They want the harvest without planting the seeds. They want the reward without showing up as the person who deserves it. But life doesn't work that way. Life mirrors who you are, not what you wish for. So how do you bridge the gap? You ask yourself a simple question every day. If my vision was already real, how would I act today? If the answer is that you'd work harder, then work harder now. If the answer is that you'd be more disciplined, then be disciplined now. If the answer is that you'd speak more confidently, speak confidently now. Don't wait, because waiting creates hesitation and hesitation kills momentum. And don't confuse this with perfection. You don't have to know every step. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take the actions that match your belief in this moment. Small, consistent, aligned actions compound. They stack on top of each other. They begin to rewire your brain. They reshape your habits. Before long, You've become the living embodiment of your vision. But here's the catch: when you first start aligning action with belief, it will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will say, who do you think you are? You're not that person yet. That's your old identity trying to keep you small. That's fear trying to protect you from growth. And this is where most people stop. They wait until they feel ready, until they feel confident, until they feel certain. The truth is, confidence is not what creates action. Action is what creates confidence. You act first, you feel later. You align your behaviors with your vision, and the feelings will catch up. So you've got to be willing to live in that temporary discomfort. You've got to be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is who I am now, and then take the actions that back it up. Because every time you act in alignment, you're carving a new identity, you're strengthening the muscle of belief. You're proving to yourself that you are no longer the old you. You are the version of yourself who creates results. And the beautiful part is, once you commit to alignment, momentum builds. What once felt unnatural becomes natural. What once felt forced becomes automatic. At first you have to push, but eventually the energy flips and the actions begin to pull you forward. That's when you know you're in alignment, when the things that used to feel impossible now feel like second nature. So stop waiting for the right time, the right conditions, the right feelings. They're not coming. You are the right time. You are the right condition. You are the one who decides. And the decision is simple: live today in alignment with the person you say you are becoming. Because if your actions and your belief are not aligned, you're lying to yourself. But when they match, you live today as if your dream is already reality. That's when you collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be. So the real question you need to answer right now is this: are your actions today proving your belief? Are they betraying it? One of the most extraordinary shifts you can ever experience in your life is the realization that time is not fixed. Most people walk around saying, it'll take me years to get there. Take me decades to achieve what I want. It's just going to be a long road bide. And because they believe that, because they accept that story, their actions slow down. They drag their feet. They procrastinate. They take the scenic route when they could be on the expressway. But the truth is, time bends to intensity. When you decide with absolute certainty that your dream is already done, when you commit with focused intensity, would normally take years can happen in months. What could take months can happen in weeks. You collapse time when you show up with everything you've got fully aligned, fully committed, fully certain. Let's be honest. Most people spread themselves thin. They dabble in a dozen things. They're halfway in, halfway out. They let distractions eat up their days. They live in hesitation, in maybe, in someday. And that's why progress feels so slow. That's why they stay stuck in the same cycle year after year. It's not because the dream is impossible. It's because their energy is diluted. They're living in fragments. But when you bring all of you into the game, you stop playing at 50% and go all in. Everything accelerates. Think about the times in your life when you've been most productive, when you achieved something in a short burst of time that would normally take forever. Maybe it was cramming for an exam and somehow absorbing weeks of material in 2 nights. Maybe it was a project at work where the deadline forced you to rise to the occasion and get it done in record time. Maybe it was when you finally said, enough, changing this now, and you lost the weight or quit the habit or made the move you'd been avoiding. What happened? You collapsed time, you focused your intensity, and suddenly you achieved in days what you'd been putting off for years. That's not luck. That's not magic. That's the power of focused intensity. And here's the key. You don't have to wait for crisis, for pressure, for the last minute to trigger that kind of focus. You can choose it now. You can decide to live in that level of intensity every day. You can wake up and say, I am not wasting time anymore. I am not living in hesitation. I am bringing all of me to the table today. And when you do, your results will multiply. But here's the challenge. Most people underestimate how much they can do in a short period of time with absolute focus, and they overestimate how much they can do in the long run while scattered. They think, one day, get there. But one day is code for never. One day is the story that keeps them from going all in. Now, if you want to collapse time, you've got to rip the old day story out of your life. You've got to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You've got to start living like it's already happening, already done. Intensity is not about working harder for the sake of exhaustion. It's about working with absolute clarity, cutting away what doesn't matter and pouring yourself into what does. It's about deciding this is non-negotiable. This is not maybe. This is happening. That level of focus ignites your creativity, your resourcefulness, your drive. You stop tolerating distractions. You stop giving energy to things that don't serve you. You channel everything into the vision and suddenly momentum kicks in. When you live this way, you discover something amazing. Life responds faster to intensity than it does to dabbling. People feel it. They see the fire in your eyes. They sense your conviction. Opportunities that were once invisible start showing up because you're finally tuned into them. It's like the world bends around your certainty. Let's make this practical. If you're building a business, collapsing time might mean instead of spending years testing the waters, you dive in and commit fully. You pick up the phone, you make the calls, you study relentlessly, you take bold action daily. In 6 months, You achieve what others spend 6 years circling around. If you're transforming your health, collapsing time might mean you stop negotiating with yourself. You don't eat better. You don't sort of move your body. You live today like the version of you who is already transformed, and in a few months, your body becomes unrecognizable because you stop dragging it out. If it's a relationship you want, collapsing time means you stop waiting for the right conditions. You pour presence, love, and energy into it now, and the bond deepens faster than you thought possible. But to do this, you must eliminate the excuses. You must eliminate the story that says you have endless time, because you don't. Time is slipping every day, and the people who achieve extraordinary results are not the ones who had more time. They're the ones who used it with intensity. They treated every day like it mattered, because it does. And yes, this requires sacrifice. Requires saying no to distractions. It requires walking away from comfort, from the easy path, from what feels safe. It requires getting comfortable with pressure, with stretching yourself, with living in that edge where growth happens. That's the price of collapsing time. That's the difference between those who live in mediocrity for decades and those who rise to greatness in a fraction of the time. The beautiful thing is, once you commit to this, you start to fall in love with it. You fall in love with the intensity. You fall in love with the growth. You fall in love with the momentum. It stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like freedom. Because what's heavier than pressure is regret. Regret is what you feel when you look back and realize you wasted time you'll never get back. So here's my challenge to you. Stop dragging out your dream. Stop telling yourself it's going to take years. Stop living like you've got all the time in the world. Decide today to collapse time. Decide today to bring focused intensity into everything you do. Decide that the person you are becoming is already here, already alive, already real. Align your actions with that vision fully, completely, without hesitation. Because when you do, what you thought would take a lifetime can begin unfolding in this very moment. So the only question that matters now is this: how much longer are you willing to wait for a dream that you could bring to life today? There's one more piece to this puzzle, and it's the one most people overlook. You can have vision. You can align your identity. You can take bold action. You can collapse time with focused intensity. But if you miss this, if you skip this, you'll feel like you're always chasing, always reaching, always striving, but never arriving. The key that unlocks momentum and makes the entire process sustainable is gratitude. Now, when I say gratitude, I don't mean the surface level. Thank you. You throw out a politeness. I mean the deep, embodied gratitude that shifts your emotional state instantly. The gratitude that reminds you right now that life is not something you're waiting for. It's already here. That you already have blessings. You already have opportunities. You already have more than you once dreamed of. Gratitude is the energy that takes the hunger for more and balances it with the joy of what already is. And when you live in that space, your momentum doesn't just grow, it compounds. Think about it. If you're only driven by what's missing, by what's not here yet, then no matter how much you achieve, it will never feel like enough. You'll get the house, but it won't be enough. You'll build the business, but it won't be enough. Attract the relationship, and still something will feel incomplete. That's the trap of living without gratitude. You're always living in the gap, always chasing the horizon that moves as fast as you run. But when you live with gratitude, suddenly the gap disappears. You see how far you've already come. You see how much you already have. And from that energy, from that fullness, you create with joy instead of lack. Gratitude doesn't mean you settle. It doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you're fueled by a different energy. When you're grateful, you're no longer climbing out of a hole. You're building from a mountain. You're not saying, I'll be happy when I get there. You're saying, already blessed beyond measure, and from this place, I'll create even more. Do you see how that changes everything? Because when you already feel abundant, you attract abundance faster. When you already feel successful, you move like success is inevitable. Gratitude is the bridge between acting as if and living as if. It makes the vision real in your nervous system right now. And here's something powerful. Your brain cannot feel fear and gratitude at the same time. It can't hold on to stress and gratitude simultaneously. When you step into gratitude, it rewires your state instantly. It shifts you from scarcity to abundance, from worry to certainty, from tension to flow. And when you shift your state, decisions change. Your behavior changes, your results change. Think about the last time you were truly grateful. Maybe it was holding someone you love. Maybe it was walking outside and feeling awe at the beauty of nature. Maybe it was a moment where you realized how far you've come from where you once were. In those moments, didn't everything feel lighter? Didn't everything feel possible? That's the state gratitude gives you access to at will. When you live in that state, momentum becomes natural. Here's the trap most people fall into. They think gratitude is something you feel once the big result shows up. They think, I'll be grateful when I hit my goal. Be grateful when I finally make it. I'll be grateful when everything looks perfect. But that's backwards. Gratitude isn't the reward for success. Gratitude is the fuel for success. If you can't be grateful now, magically be grateful later, because the mind always finds the next problem, the next gap, the next not enough. Gratitude is a choice. It's a practice. It's a way of living now before the result that magnetizes the result. So what does this look like? In real life, it looks like waking up every morning and asking yourself, what's already incredible in my life right now? It looks like Ending the day by saying, what went right today? What can I celebrate? Am I thankful for? It looks like pausing in the middle of the chaos and saying, even in here, even now, I can find something to be grateful for. Because the moment you do that, you step out of fear, out of doubt, out of frustration, back into your power. Gratitude also gives you resilience. Because let's be real, life will test you. You will face setbacks, disappointments, failures. But when you practice gratitude, even in those moments, you discover something extraordinary. You can find meaning in the pain. You can find the gift in the struggle. You can look back on the hardest seasons of your life and realize they shaped you, they grew you, they prepared you for exactly where you are now. That's gratitude at its highest level. Being thankful not just for the good, but for everything, because it all served you. And that's what makes momentum unstoppable. Because if you're only grateful when things go right, your gratitude will be fragile. But if you're grateful even when things go wrong, then nothing can stop you. You're unshakable. You can take the punches, the failures, the rejections, and instead of being knocked down, you say, thank you. This is shaping me. This is redirecting me. This is teaching me. And you keep moving forward with even more strength. When you live with that kind of gratitude, people feel it. They're drawn to it. They want to be around you because your energy is contagious. You become a magnet, not because you're trying to pull people in, but because your gratitude radiates. And that magnetism creates opportunities, relationships, momentum you could never manufacture through force alone. So as you move forward, remember this belief opens the door, identity locks it in place, action builds the path, intensity collapses time. But gratitude is what makes the journey worth living. Gratitude is what transforms striving into joy, hustle into flow, and goals into celebrations along the way. Gratitude is what allows you to act as if and feel as if, so that when the results finally show up, they don't shock you, they just confirm what you already knew. And when you live in gratitude, you no longer chase success. You attract it. You embody it. You multiply it. Because gratitude is the state of already having, and from that state always flows to you. So if you take nothing else away, take this, be grateful now, not later. Feel it now, not when it's convenient. And watch how life rises up to meet you faster, greater, and more beautifully than you ever imagined.